Hello, everyone. This is Marissa Sweet. I'm coming to you live from the Society of Canadian Artists. I am the past president of the SCA, and tonight we are going to be interviewing our SCA president, Manny Schultz. So I am very excited to have him join. I just saw him there, and so I will ask him to join us tonight. So I asked him to join, and he should be able to join soon. There we go.
Hey, how you doing, Marissa?
Very good. How are
Good, good,
you?
good. Let me just get some lighting in here.
Okay. Wow. It is
Okay.
an honor and a delight to see you tonight, and we'll have a good chat and communicate with our members and the public about SCA and our vision and current ongoings and visions for the future.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yes, so before anything else, I would like to read your bio to give a brief introduction to everybody who is watching us online. So let me go ahead and read your bio, Manny.
Okay.
Okay, so after graduating from University of Manitoba's Faculty of Architecture in 1981, Manny worked as a freelance artist. In 1985, Manny took a pause from his artwork and began to pursue his business career. In 1988, Manny obtained his MBA, and in 1995, he received his accounting designation. In 2016, Manny returned to his artwork and has exhibited his paintings in numerous galleries and has received several juror awards. In the past 4 years, he has had 7 paintings juried into the SCA's Open International Juried Exhibitions. In 2022, Manny was appointed to the SCA Board of Directors, and on June 10, 2023, he was elected as the 22nd SCA president and the first from
Hmm.
Manitoba. So, congratulations again for that, Manny. It's so exciting to have you as our guest speaker tonight. Um, how are you so far this evening?
I'm thrilled to be here. I'm pretty
Excuse
excited.
me.
I've been busy day today doing some painting and actually doing some other stuff for the SCA. And it's been a really full day, but I'm really excited to be here today with you, Marissa, and of course with everybody out there that's listening and wanting to hear what we are doing at the SCA and also to get their feedback, right? And this is part of it, right? Is to hear from them about what questions they may have, what suggestions, that kind of thing, because we're all wanting to get better and we can only get better when we get feedback. So I'm excited to be here, Marissa. So
Yeah.
I know that I'm in your capable hands. Interview away, you know.
Yes, definitely. It's nice. I'd like to keep it as informative and yet very casual with everybody watching us live, and they can see the replays on our Instagram feed. So, as per our invitation, the first topic of discussion is the vision for the SCA. As president, what can you talk about the vision for the SCA?
Yeah, thanks for that. So it's a collective vision. It's the vision of our entire board and some of the feedback that we've received through the period of time that I've been president, and actually, of course, preceding that when you were our esteemed president, Marissa. So, we're in a constant path to get better. And one of the things that we have been doing in this last number of months with the board is doing some strategic planning and asking ourselves, what should we be doing at the SCA? And who are we and what should we be doing and how can we be doing it better? And so that's been an important part of our focus with the board of directors, but I'll backdrop a little bit to that for what we've done in the last number of
Sure,
months,
sure.
which is talking about some of the things we've been doing on the exhibition side too.
Yes,
So as you know, we have three major exhibitions every year. The first one was
yes,
just finished having the call for the Open International Online Juried Exhibition.
right,
And then we have the numbered exhibition, which this year will be the 56th Open International Exhibition. And then we have our elected members show. So we
that's
have
true.
these three exhibitions every year. And
Right,
we occasionally have other shows. A couple years ago, we had an Atlantic regional show and so on. So that's been our primary focus for the last number of years. And so what we wanted to do first and foremost is improve our exhibitions, improve our jurying, our rubrics, like how are the jurors deciding what pieces go in and out. We'll talk about that later. But that's
right,
been part of our focus. But then coming more full circle to what we've been talking about more recently is to say, what can we do at the SCA to become better for our members?
mm-hmm.
I mean, I became a member, an elected member in 2021. I tried to become a member in 2020 and was
Yes,
unsuccessful.
yes, explain that, Manny.
Yeah, I was crushed by that, right? Because I put in my application and followed all the rules and regulations. And as you indicated in the bio, I mean, I've been away for art for a while, right? I've
Right,
been doing
right,
quite a bit in my youth, but for 30 some years, didn't do it and got back to it in 2016, 2017. Put some submissions into the SCA and their exhibitions, got a whole bunch of pieces in,
mhm,
right? I thought I was in a good shape to become an elected member, put my application in and didn't make it
mm,
and didn't get any feedback. And so I was quite downcast and crushed by that. I said, well, how am I ever supposed to get
better,
better?
yeah,
Aside from the fact that my ego is affected, right? Like, what does that mean to be
right,
rejected?
right,
It's always tough to get that, and especially so
yep,
as an artist. It didn't bother me so much as an accountant, but it bothered me more as an artist
mm,
to be rejected because it kind of affected your heart and soul and spirit more than it did for me as an accountant. So I was kind of like, what do we do about that? And so then in 2021, I just decided to put it in again and updated it, learned to get better, got in, right? But then I thought, okay, we need to become better. Like, what value are we providing to the SCA members? It's the exhibitions. We want to have more workshops. We're going to have one coming up next week. You're going to be seeing that promo coming out tomorrow.
right,
But what else can we do? And so, we have it on our teaser, on our agenda to talk about our national conference. But we look at our name. Who are we? We're the Society of Canadian Artists. So let's break it down word by word. We're a society. So what does that mean? We're a
right.
community. Years ago, I'm the first Manitoban to be president. There are not a lot of Manitobans who are members. I think there are now three of us.
Three, yeah, I
Not a
think
lot,
so.
right? We have
Mm-hmm.
500 members in total, approximately. Not very many in certain key areas. If we look at our demographics, we have the most in Ontario. We, surprisingly enough, have our second largest cohort in the West. About 20% of our members are in the West.
Mm,
And so we want to be a community, but how do you become a community, which is a group of like-minded people supporting one another, giving feedback, all those things? How do we do that? And so, the digital age with COVID actually helped us a little bit come to grips with Zoom calls and these kind of things and ways to connect, that way. So we want to become a society in the community, but we also want to be Canadian.
right.
So what does that mean? That means coast to coast to
Coast to
coast.
coast, province to province.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's really hard to do,
Mm,
because I mean you're in the Toronto GTA area, I'm in Winnipeg. We have a lot of our members Calgary, Vancouver and elsewhere, but we don't have a lot of representation in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, PEI, the North.
yep,
So we want to become coast to coast. We also
right.
want to have our exhibitions rotating around in different areas,
Mm-hmm.
thinking, Calgary, hello, Calgary, Vancouver, places like that, the Maritimes again. So we
Sure.
want to be a society, want to be Canadians, but we also want to be artists. And what does that mean to be an artist? So that's when we were looking at our exhibition and our rubrics and asking ourselves, what kind of artists do we want to be?
Right.
And with artificial intelligence and other things like that, are we wanting to be an AI group or maybe not? And so we're kind of looking at all those things. we're still in that journey, but we're the Society of Canadian Artists, and so we want to be making sure that we're doing all of that, and our strategy is to enhance that and make that better for all of our members.
Right, right. And again, we also, like last year sometime, we sent out a survey to our members to ask them what they would like to see, and did they want to have more workshops, and this we take into heart, and we look at the results of the survey, and we discuss it in the board, and we try to fine tune it, and brainstorm all about the results we got from the survey, because it's from our members, and we want to make sure that we are tapping into what our members want.
And also, honestly, getting critiques from our members, right? So today I received an email from an SCA member, a longstanding email,
Yes,
or an email from a longstanding SCA member, quite disenchanted about what we've been doing and thinking we need to do more,
that's right, right.
And so, at first glance, you go, well, that's, who wants to deal with that? But on the other hand, it's kind of one of the more important messages you get, right? Is kind
Hmm.
of like, okay, so this is someone who's been a member for a long time. What can we do to make this person feel more at home within our society? And what can we do? And we have to do more and we have to do better. And so that's why this kind of feedback is kind of very important for us, Marissa, and the board takes it seriously. So
Hmm.
whether we get the opportunity to talk about it today or send us an email, let us know what your thoughts are. Even if it's harsh, if it's critical, I mean, we have to hear the truth on some of these things and find ways to get better.
Yeah, yeah, and we're approachable, definitely, and they can send us an email, and we'll probably come up with another survey partway through the year, and discuss it a little bit more with our members. We want to hear more about what they're thinking.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, we want to be communicating with them as much as we
For
can.
sure.
Yeah. So, Manny, we currently are right now in the middle of our spring elected membership call. uh, it is a call where artists, either associate members from the SCA, take the courage to apply for elected membership status, and also artists from outside of the SCA who want to join in as an elected member. Can you talk a little bit about what it is like to be an elected member and why they should apply to become an elected member?
Sure. I'll just give my own personal experience as a starting point, right?
Yes.
I mean, there I am in Manitoba doing okay in
Yeah.
my own little world there. But when I became an SCA member, it was like being turbocharged in terms of my career, right? It has
Mm-hmm.
pedigree, it has some standing, even in a place like Manitoba that hasn't a rich heritage of SCA. It meant something. It meant something to me, right, as an affirmation, but it also meant something to outside persons, gallerists or other people on your resume and your CV. Um, it meant a lot to me, and I think it, from what I understand, means a lot to many
Yes.
others. I mean, I just saw Jijon Yi joining up on our
Yes.
chat, right? He
Yeah,
was
he's
a
right there.
Yeah, I mean, he became a member at our annual meeting last year in June, and you did the introduction for him. I handed him a certificate in Toronto when we went through that, and what we do when we find and we talk to these people is that they're really excited about it because it means something to them and it means something to the public. It's a big deal and it's not easy to get. Like I
No,
was rejected and I was really like, oh man, like they don't love me, they don't want me. What is that, right? Or maybe I'm not good enough, or I got angry with them, the whole thing, right? But you know what? I kept trying, and it's meant a lot. I mean, it's opened a lot of doors. It's opened up the community to meet people like yourself and other members. I went to an elected members exhibition this past fall in
yes, in
Montreal.
Montreal,
Yeah,
yes.
I was lucky enough to have a piece juried into that and flew down there. And I mean, I was just so excited, not about so much about my piece, but really looking at everyone else's work it's one thing to see it online, you get excited about
Yeah.
that and talk to people. It's another thing to see it in person and talking to all these other artists. Oh my goodness, it was so inspirational. And when I got back to my studio, I just started doing stuff,
Oh,
better
yes.
and
You were
more
very
efficient.
motivated to
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah, and so for
Yeah.
everybody out there that's thinking about becoming a member, I encourage you to do it. I mean, we have mentors that can help you along the way. Um, it's not easy. There's a bit of work to be done, and honestly, it's also not necessarily easy on your ego and emotions because you may not make it. But many people do, and we're thrilled. For instance, we had at our winter party last year, we introduced a whole bunch of new uh, SCA members. And it was like they're world class people in here and world class artists. And it was such a buzz and so exciting. So
Very
I
good.
encourage people to give it a try and keep persevering at it and learn from it and improve their craft. The SCA is a big deal, and we're encouraging people to think about it, ask questions, and move forward with that. Yeah.
Yes, so no, those who are interested in applying for elected status, the process is on our website. And if you click into membership, you will see how to become a member. And it really outlines everything that we would like to see in terms of what we require and the images that we would like to see. We will have 5 jurors from across Canada in different mediums and genre that will independently jury this process. And maybe, Manny, it's a good segue to talk about the jurying rubric, which has been, for the past year, the board has really looked into the three criterias that we would like the jurors to look at when they're jurying a piece that is submitted for either an exhibition or for the elected member status.
Right. And so now, I mentioned this before, last year we struck a subcommittee of our board to look exclusively at best practices in arts groups and societies and exhibitions for assessing artwork,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So the group came back and did a pretty awesome piece
Yeah.
of work. And so then what we're doing is now implementing it. And so in the past, it was only one criteria for jurors. It was artistic
Artistic
excellence.
excellence.
And so you ask
Mm-hmm.
the question, well, what does that mean? If you ask anybody, they'll come up with different answers generally, right? It's very vague. And of course, art is subjective,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But artistic excellence can mean a lot of different things. And so what we wanted to do and we saw as best practice is that people were looking at narrowing the scope of the or defining the scope of the criteria better. And so that's what we have done. We now have, instead of one artistic excellence, we have 3 criteria. And we listed that actually on our call for elected membership if you go to the webpage.
That's right.
Number one is technical excellence. So you have to be good at technically excellent.
Mm.
And that means for whatever genre, style, or whatever. So, I do kind of mostly realistic landscape stuff. So are you being technically excellent in that genre? If
Mm.
you're doing abstracts, if you're doing um, sculpture, watercolor,
Watercolor.
or more loose or expressionist, impressionist,
Right.
so the jurors are being asked to be looking at that criteria within the context of that genre.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, abstract artist is not being judged on the same idea of technical excellence as someone who is a realist, for instance.
Right.
It's how good are you relative to your
Mm-hmm.
genre. So, technical excellence is number
Yep.
one. Then the
Yep.
second thing is
Artistic.
artistic expression. And look at all the balloons going up, right? It's kind of a funny thing.
Artistic.
When you put up like this, then
Oh,
you get the balloons. It's something I just
that
learned,
is
right?
so cool.
Yeah. And so then you get artistic excellence,
Yes.
artistic expression. So how well can you express an idea, an emotion, a
A
sentiment, right?
connection with the public.
Right. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's about um, being expressive.
Right.
it's not just good enough. And I look, that's what caused me to go back to my work, for
Mm,
instance. This is, yeah,
yeah.
I'm technically okay, but am I really expressing well an idea within my genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's saying, okay, so that's criteria number, and I'm hesitant to get the balloons up again, but criteria number 2, artistic, technical excellence, artistic expression. There
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
The third one, I don't think there's a balloons coming up for 3. The
For
third
3.
one is creative innovation.
Right.
So it's not good enough to be technically excellent. It's not good enough to just be expressing something.
Expressive.
You have to do something different. You have to be really keeping on and enhancing, being innovative, and doing something different. If,
Mm,
for instance, you're really excellent at something, you keep doing it over and over and
right.
over again. This is kind of the issue, right? So we want people to become not only technically excellent, express well, but do something that's creative and innovation. And so that's how we are now, that's the jury instructions that we're giving out to our jurors for exhibitions
Right.
and
Right.
for the call um, uh,
Elected
for
members.
membership, right?
Yeah.
And then also we have now 5 jurors.
Yes.
So in the past it was 3
For
jurors.
exhibitions.
Right. And also for now for our call for membership, it's the same thing. It's 5,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
we want to have 5 jurors who are representing different geographic areas of the country
Right.
in keeping with our strategy, but also different genres and different mediums and also, different kind of things so that we get the diversity of expression and ideas around the table when they're jurying it. So it won't just be, oh, somebody that loves, like waterfall realism or something. You
Mm,
have to have something more than that as a juror, and you have to have that within your group and pool. And by having 5 jurors is also important because sometimes if you have a small number, it's just a bit of stats and a little bit of my background, but if you have a small number, you can,
mm-hmm.
if you say 3 jurors and one of them, uh, won't call them rogue, but has, say, a strong set of opinions, they
Right.
will very much affect everything because their opinion is 33% of the whole. Whereas if you have 5 jurors, one person like that, they only represent 20%. And so it allows for the jurying to be a bit more better balanced. And so
Right.
that's kind of what we're doing now is we're having 3 criteria. We're having 5
5 jurors.
jurors with different backgrounds, and we're doing that for the exhibitions. We just did that for
The
the Open
open. Yeah.
International.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the jurors are now sort of sorting through all of that with, and Nancy Overbury, our exhibition director, is
Mm-hmm.
working on that behalf for us, coordinating that with them. And then we'll see what the outcome is. But, and we'll talk a little bit more. We'll have a post, we'll describe what the outcomes are. What we're already seeing is that we're seeing generally artists are best, their best criteria is technical
Mm.
excellence. Then they're going towards their second highest or second well scored is the
Just
artistic expression.
expression. Yeah.
But most artists that we're seeing submitting are um,
Low in.
lower on on the innovation side.
Mm.
Well, the award winners tend to be mastery and it tends to be in all 3 of them, and that tends to be the differentiation. So
Yeah.
it's almost
Yeah.
like a bachelor's degree is your technical excellence. Your artistic excellence is like your master's degree, and your PhD in
Mm.
whatever style or whatever thinking you're doing as a PhD person, for instance, that's your creative
Creative. Oh,
innovation. So
wow.
yeah, and so we have the call open until the end of the month. We've already have
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of people that are in. Uh,
Wow.
it's always a super exciting time, Marissa. You know that when we're introducing the people for
Yes. Yeah. Always a very exciting time when we give out their certificates and announce that they have been uh, um, accepted as an elected status of
and the
the
other
SCA.
yeah, and the other thing that we're looking to do is to provide feedback, right?
That's a new one right now
Yeah,
because there was no feedback in the past.
yeah, and that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was
Mm-hmm.
really bothersome to me is like, how am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to get better? Like in my profession previously, I mean, you always got performance evaluations and feedback, but as an artist, where are you supposed to get it? I mean, you get it from your family and friends, and they'll say, "Hey, Marissa, your work is amazing. It's awesome," and they'll say the same for everybody's. And the family and close support tend to be that. But how about some of your harshest critics? What do they say?
Mm.
Sometimes that's the hardest information to receive. Sometimes beneficially, sometimes not. But you have to have feedback, and so that was kind of what we started to do with our elected members call last time.
Yep, in the
And
fall. Hmm.
yeah, it was an optional and generally went well. So many people were, of course, crushed and disappointed by the results, but at least they have it. And so
Yeah,
that's part of
and
what we're
we were just pretty much telling them the jury scores,
right.
right? And yeah, no personal feedback there. It is the results that we got, right? So yeah, it's very good to receive feedback, in my personal opinion, even though sometimes it could be crushing. But it actually makes you think twice, and then you look at your work from a different perspective. I always have my husband give me feedback with my own personal art, and sometimes it makes you look at your work in a different light, and it pushes you to work harder, and usually the feedback's always helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember actually once with the Manitoba Society of Artists, I submitted a piece. I thought it was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Didn't get in, right? I was like,
Yeah,
how come?
sometimes that
Yeah, and they weren't in the
trash.
and they weren't going to be giving feedback and stuff. But I just happened to have met the juror shortly afterwards and asked him. And he said, "Well, Manny, your work, technically it's okay, but it's quite pedestrian." I said, "Pedestrian? What does that
What
mean?"
does that mean?
I'm not even
Yeah.
sure. So I kind of felt it was a pretty big slight. And then I asked for clarification, and he said, "Well, I got nothing out of it. It was like a photograph. It meant nothing to me," which was pretty harsh to hear. Your work
Wow.
means nothing. But he was just being brutal and candid, and yeah, I didn't much like it, but it forced me to go back, and I have to say it was a driving thing for me. I tried my work not to be pedestrian anymore. I try really hard to improve on that, and so that's feedback is important. Had I never received that, I don't know that it would have. That's one of the precursors, I think, to helping me become an SCA, was someone actually taking me aside and telling me, like, your work is kind of ordinary. It's kind of like just walking on the sidewalk, right?
Oh gosh.
Which is hard to hear,
That
right?
is, yeah.
Um,
Whoa.
yeah, but it was yeah, yeah, I'm not sure I really ever to this day really like them for it, but I really appreciated it for it. And listen, you have to get that feedback, not necessarily in that format,
No,
or
not in that format.
no,
No.
but
Yeah, I think
feedback
that's
is that was
pretty
rough.
personal. That's rough. And it's not based on anything, just a personal opinion, right? So
He was a
uh,
he
our
was a really
feedback is,
well-known artist, right?
yeah.
So it was like, wait, but he took a hard shot at me, and anyways, in my work life, I got a lot of rejections. We know this too, but it's hard as an artist to deal with that kind of thing because it's our heart and soul
Mm-hmm.
that's affected. And so, anyways, that's
Yeah, especially if you devoted so much time and energy from concept to drawings to sketches to research, and then you paint the hours that you or sculpt or install or whatever, right?
right.
It's art. The art form is just very all-consuming, and to get a feedback that's not quite helpful is also devastating. So,
Yeah, but in this
yeah,
case here, it was
yeah,
helpful,
yeah,
right?
okay.
But it was, um, and it wasn't cruel. I don't. He wasn't intending to be there. He was just being very casual with it. He says like it's kind of ordinary. That was kind of the
Mm,
message. And then when I looked at it in the cold light of day, I have to say that I agree with him. And honestly, some of my work to date, I do tend to slide into becoming ordinary, and so I need to really work at and pushing myself to become better. And that's why being in the Society of Canadian Artists is great, right? Because you see all these amazing pieces of
Oh my
art,
God.
and it's like so inspirational, and it pushes me to become better than I would otherwise be.
Yeah, very, very much so.
Right.
We got a question that came in an email in regards to the elected member application. You know, what do we tell artists that are new artists? Perhaps they have been in the corporate world for 30 years and have now just started becoming more full-time in their passion, in their art, but they haven't had any experience in shows and exhibitions, but want to become a member of the SCA and was thinking of applying for the elected status. What do we advise artists who are, in the beginning stage of their career? Should they try to gain more experience before they apply? What's your opinion on that, Manny?
I think getting more experience is always going to help you, right? Getting more experiences in anything,
Mm-hmm.
art experiences, life experience, all experience helps you.
Mm-hmm.
My advice um, to a lot of artists is to enter jury shows,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because if you get in, you put yourself out there, and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
relatively anonymous too, right? Whether you get in or not, right? Like who's going to know?
Right.
So you can protect your ego a little bit, but then you can find out every once in a while you do get in, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that helps on your CV, it helps on your resume, it helps on your confidence level. So for me, similar path, right? I mean, I had some success early in my career, but then put it aside for 30 years. I didn't do anything, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
am I ever going to get back to where I was? And how do I do that? So I started at the Manitoba Society of Artists, got into their juried shows, and well, I put my entries in there and got some stuff in, some stuff didn't. And then I put some in our SCA stuff and the Federation stuff and other things like that. Like, what? Put it in. It really doesn't cost a lot. It's $40, $50 entry fee. That's something, but it's not like taking out a mortgage or anything. And then you get it in, you get confidence, and you build up, get that experience. And then, whether you make it in or not, look at what the other artists are doing. Who's
Mm-hmm.
getting in? Look at your work and do a comparison. You always want to have your own voice and your own style, but it's always helpful to have some measure of, like, who's doing in the work, that the kind of work you're doing, who's doing great work, and what can I do to become better? That's an important question and experience. So for emerging artists, um, it's like emerging musicians. You just got to do the gigs. You got to get out there and put yourself out there, and
Yeah.
then build up the craft, the resume, your confidence level, learn from it, and then move forward.
Like, yeah, and really, if you can get into the juried shows, particularly the SCA juried shows, in a span of 5 year time, if you could get into three
Right.
juried shows, you can apply for elected
Right.
status.
So we have two pathways now to
Mm-hmm.
become. We always did. It's in our bylaws, right? So
Right.
last year we finally just said, okay, let's do it this way. So not only do you have the traditional approach like we have now, where you have to call for the membership and you make all your applications and it goes to the jurying process. The other alternative pathway, and we had 3 new elected members at the fall intake that came in this way, were ones who, in the last 5 years, had in 3 different of our open invitational or open exhibitions, they had 3 times that they were
Yes.
accepted. And the idea here is by being accepted by those jurors in those shows, they're almost like pre-juried. They're already kind of gone through the jurying
Yes.
process. So we just asked these people to give us a listing of which exhibitions they were in, which pieces. So we have to do the confirmation of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
we just asked them to submit to me, which I then take to the board of directors, an email, a CV, a letter explaining why they want to become tell us a little bit about yourself so we know, right? Because
Yes.
we have to do that due diligence for our membership. But tell us why you want to become an SCA member. And, we had some just superb artists who repeatedly, like Bonnie Schechter, for instance, right? So she was like a perennial award winner, always in there, but just for whatever reason hadn't gone through the process. And then this was an available pathway, and was a very simple decision to say, yeah, she's an elected member, right?
Right,
So
right,
that's the pathway. So which is another reason why people should apply to these shows,
right.
right? Because if you get in once, you get in twice,
Mm.
and then you're kind of dancing with it. And I think it's a pretty cool way to do it.
Yes, so we had a question here by Mina. Should it be three in a row? And my answer there is not necessarily three in a row, just in a 5 year, 5 year
I
period
frame
of time.
Yeah, our
Yeah,
bylaws say 5 years.
5 years.
For our call for membership, we ask for recent work, like going back 3 years. So there's a bit of a disconnect, right? For the call in the traditional ways, we're only going back 3 years, but for our last 5 years is what we have as our window open for the alternative path.
Mhm.
And really, when you think about it, we have two open shows every year,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
The ones we had to call for, and then we have our numbered ones,
yes.
which will be the six. So we have two per year,
So they get in this year, assuming, and then they try again next year
right?
and get
But
in.
in the last 5 years, it'll be 10 opportunities for them to get in three
That's
times.
correct.
So, that's why that's like knocking on the doors. Knock three times and the door will be opened up, kind of thing, right? Knock
I
three
like
times,
that.
feeling if
Yeah, that's a nice song, actually.
well, don't ask me to sing it. Tony Orlando did a better job.
Mm.
But it's one of those things that it speaks to the whole idea of keep trying. I know that there
Right.
are a number of artists that I love their work, and they've applied twice, and they're thinking, well, I want to try and get the third time in or whatever. So yeah, keep trying. That's great advice for
Yeah,
people.
and I want to also make it clear to the people who are watching is that our jurors are not the same every exhibition and every call. We select different jurors all the time. So if you didn't get in this time, try again because it would be another set of eyes, and also you're growing with every painting you do. So your creative innovation is moving as well as your artistic excellence. So just keep trying every year, and it'll only get better,
Right.
is what I would like to encourage everyone.
I had a question, Marissa, and that was from another person that sent me a message saying, hey, listen, I do realism, but I also do abstract work.
Oh, yeah,
How do I manage that?
right.
Right? So
Hmm.
this is a conundrum, right? Because you have 10 pieces that you can supply. And so there's two schools of thought.
Yeah, the
One school of
body of
thought says,
work.
yeah, have a consistent body of work, right? So that would suggest you only have one style that you submit. The
Mm,
other school of thought is, well, wait a minute, who are you as an artist? And if you are an artist that does more than one genre or medium, and that's who you are as a person, that's your vision, that's your voice, then to only express it in one language seems to be not speaking your person, your truth. So I tend to tilt towards the person's submitting an application with who they are, right?
right.
But being careful that they don't dilute the message. It's also then therefore asking our jurors to be able to understand and be able to come to that, right? So, recently I had one of our applications from fall. An
Mm-hmm.
artist had
Hmm.
only put in their abstract work.
That,
And honestly, her
right.
scores were just about, barely made it in on the scores. But then when I was doing, because I do the social media for the essay, I saw all of their other styles of work, and I said, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic! I wish I had seen this earlier on." And so, with permission, I added this other stuff into the portfolio, and it was so much richer, the whole portfolio. Two schools of thought. At the end of the day, each artist has to make their own decision on something like that. I think. I mean, Marissa, what do you think?
I think so too. You have to show your truth, um, uh, and who you are.
Right.
So, I mean, it's always nice to have a good body of work. Let's say you're a landscape painter, and so you just submit all your landscape paintings, which, but if you're also like your passion is also painting flowers,
Right.
and you do that also on a full-time basis, that's a part of you. So I would probably select my top 10 florals, my top 5 florals, together with my top landscapes, and just put it out there, because both of them are a part of you as an artist. So hopefully the jurors will see that as a well-rounded artist, and not feel like they're not being true to a body of work. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like in music, right? If you're a hard rock person, you throw a ballad in every once in a while, right? So
Yeah, that's right. Like Queen is rock, right? But they have some ballads, right?
every once in a while, you were
There you
surprised,
go.
right?
Yeah. Well, now it is almost a quarter to 9, so I'd like to talk a little bit, Manny. We are at the board level are talking about having a national SCA conference for 2025. When we had the survey last year, we posted a little bit of a question out there, and it seems that there's some interest from our membership. So, what would you like to tell our audience right now about this?
So this is in keeping with our strategy, right? And improving the value proposition to our membership. Like, what are our members getting? And so we're thinking about workshops, we're thinking about these kind of things. But the big idea that came out of our board is, I think it's part of your dream, your wish a long time, right, Marissa? But for others on the board too, it kind of coalesced around the idea of having a national conference. And so a national conference where artists who are SCAs, we're still defining this, and we have an exploratory committee that's out right now. We met last Sunday, and we're going to be meeting again this Sunday, group of 11 of us on the board and other members. Pretty excited. So what we're thinking about is having a national conference in 2025, probably 2025 fall time. It's like having a big wedding, a big event plan. You can't just snap your fingers and have it come to
No,
life. We want it to be awesome. The idea being that we would have think of this would be Friday evening be a gala dinner, then we'd have the sessions on Saturday and Sundays, and before and after we could have plein air retreats and workshops. We could tie it in with one of our exhibitions, perhaps. We could have trade shows from some product vendors, these kind of things. This would be an opportunity for our artists to get together from across the country in a place where they could share information, have their art shown, learn from one another. So it's the society. We're Canadian and we're artists.
right.
Then we are in a financial position at the SCA. In the COVID times, we were able to, because we didn't have large overheads with galleries and so on, we were able to store away a little bit of a nest egg. And so we want, because we're nonprofit, we want to reinvest that in our vision. So we're thinking of supporting our vision to have a national conference with some of our financial, not a large amount because we're fairly small that way, to help support and make this thing happen for our members. And so we have 11 people in our exploratory committee. We're going to be coming back to our board in March and then again in April to see if this thing has traction and legs. We think it does. It's pretty exciting. We're tentatively thinking Ottawa as our starting point in fall of 2025, a really big show. And then we're thinking as a subsequent one would be perhaps someplace like Calgary. So all of our Calgary members start thinking about that, out west. And then the next one over there could be either in the GTA area, Montreal or Maritimes. Move it around, but have a big conference. Think about having something in the Banff Center or something like that, and then having retreats into Jasper and so on. How awesome would that be? So
Yeah.
we want to have a national conference. We're wondering if that has viability. We're looking at all of the what would be the costs, what would be the the revenues, what kind of programming would we have, what would be important. So if for people out there listening, is this something that's interesting to you? And if so, what kind of things would make you want to come to a national conference?
Mm-hmm.
And how important and how good would it need to be for you to invest of yourself into going there and all the rest of it? We would, of course, be looking at accommodations and all those things and trying to make that as relatively budget conscious as possible for our members.
Right.
So it's a pretty exciting idea and one that we think has some traction and legs. I mean, Marissa, your history is longer than mine. Is this something that the SCA has done in the last 15, 20 years? Do you
No.
know? I think so, right?
Yeah. This will be a first big one, and I'm very excited about it. And again, I want to remind everybody who's watching, like the SCA is a nonprofit organization. We're run by a handful of volunteers. So to plan something this big and national, we'll need a lot of manpower. So we are in the exploratory stage right now, and yeah, if anybody is out there and willing to volunteer, we would love to collect some names and put it into the committee. And yeah, it differentiates us from the FCA. I think somebody asked, what's the difference of SCA and FCA? FCA is based out west. And I believe it is not a nonprofit association. Manny, would you like to just clarify that just a wee bit?
Well, the Federation is an amazing art group too. They
Mm-hmm.
are largely based out of the West. They have on Granville Island in Vancouver an actual physical gallery
Right.
space. I've been there a number of times. I mean, we have a number of our members who are Federation members. I mean, it's an amazing place, right? So, um, but how do we differentiate? I mean, I kind of see us as being our model is different. We don't have a physical gallery in one spot. We had our call for galleries out,
Right.
right? We're
Right.
looking to partner with galleries so that
Mm-hmm.
we can have a, a group of galleries that think like we do, that are organized like us in different areas of the country, so that we're not landlocked in one spot. We
Yep.
wouldn't be landlocked in Toronto or landlocked
No.
in Vancouver or Winnipeg, heaven forbid,
Right.
right? So, that we would be able to have different galleries. So it's almost that kind of our business model is different.
Mm-hmm. Because we're
Uh,
national.
well, I think the Federation of Canadian Artists would say they're national too, and they have different
Mm-hmm.
chapters.
That's right.
High
That's
regard
right.
for what they do,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that we are different. Um, but I certainly never would want to diminish the excellent work that they do. I think that we can work collaboratively and work in the same space. But listen, I mean, it's for the artists to decide. Do they like where we're going with our vision and national conference? The jurying, the exhibitions, the open invitationals, all these kind of things. We are different, perhaps on the nuances right now, but I think the national conference is a great idea, and we're really excited about that. But I don't want to get too far afield and too far ahead of it. I see some people are thinking about it being connected to an exhibition. That's something that we have in our working models. We're thinking, well, should it be at one of our three exhibitions we have every year, right?
Yes.
I mean, how amazing would that be? You get accepted into
Oh,
a show, and then you
yeah.
get to bring it
Right.
there and have it shown, and you're at the gala opening event on a Friday night with a guest speaker, and then you get to, hang out and mingle with all these other amazing artists. It'd be like the experience I had in Montreal recently,
Mm.
but on steroids. It would be like amazing.
Yeah.
And so, how cool would that be? Or is it a dedicated exhibition just for that? So these are the ideas that we are sort of ruminating on and needing to settle in on. But as a conceptual strategies and idea, it's something that we are keen to do. And we're thinking Ottawa first because it's central.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, we're looking to possibly tap into grants. And of course,
Right.
Ottawa being the center of federalism in Canada. We were thinking that might be a good starting
Yeah.
place for us. But it's
Yeah.
really a beachhead to establish this and rotate it around the country, um, and almost have it like every year or every 2 years, however often we do it. It would be like a reunion, right? Right?
Yeah.
So that you have like I know, Marissa, you have your group of friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that you go to these winter parties and stuff and you can say, okay, I'd love to meet next time in Banff, and then you bring your
Yeah.
your partner out there and whatever, and then you can make a holiday of it. And I just think this is it. It's kind of got a cool little buzz to it, and I think that's part of it. Fits in with our vision to be a society of Canadian artists. And so, is that a differentiation from the Federation? We'll see. But I think that's where we're wanting to go with this, Marissa, and to everyone else, and for anyone out there that wants to help with us on this journey. As Marissa said, we're a group of volunteers. Um, we'd love to hear
Yes.
from you.
Definitely. So now we have about 10 minutes left before our hour is done, Manny. And have you received other questions that you got by email today on any of the topics that we had this evening that you'd like to share?
I mean, I just get a lot of commentary, in some cases fairly critical, about our lack of transparency.
Mm.
Right? So one of the things that I would love to commit to is to start being more open and transparent. Not to say we weren't before, but we are soon going to be starting to publish our rubric online. This is
Mm-hmm,
what our
mm-hmm,
jury instruction should be. I get a lot of commentary back about feedback. I
mm.
do, right? Like, how come I didn't get into the exhibition? Or I'm upset because I'm a nationally recognized artist and I didn't make the cut. How come that's so offensive to me?
Oh, that's.
And so part of
Mm-hmm,
this is also starting to be, I think, becoming a little bit more transparent and saying this is how we're doing it. It's not like some kind of black box where some group of people just make these decisions and nobody knows why and how. We want to make it a little bit more open. There's risks in that, right? But I think that that's an important initiative that we want to become better at. And so these kind of conversations are good.
yes.
So I get a lot of those kind of sentiments of, are you a cliquey group?
Mm,
A
mm-hmm,
bunch of Monotonians, GTA folks. And I keep telling them, hey, I'm from Manitoba, I'm from Winnipeg, and you know, I have a voice. There's a voice for everybody from the north. We want to hear your voice. I get that a lot.
yeah, that's great. Wow. Wonderful. I see a lot more people saying thank you very much for answering my question about the elected member process. That's from Kathleen. Oh, Luis said Burton Cummings says that the PEG is the center of Canada.
Burton Cummings, lead singer for the Guess Who, of course, and so he's a
Oh,
Winnipegger, and he actually has a theater that's been named after him. It's in Winnipeg, and
oh,
yeah, he's a proud Winnipegger. So
oh,
nice of Louise to
excellent.
point that out.
Oh, wonderful. So, listen, Manny, it is such a great chat we've had tonight, and we covered a lot of key points. What would be your last remarks for everybody before we sign off?
Sure. Listen, we're not perfect. We're getting better. Art is a difficult journey. It's made even more difficult if you're doing it by yourself. We learned that through COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
How hard was that? For me personally, I thought there would be a great time as something of an introvert to be out painting by myself. It was a really lousy time to paint because I wasn't connecting to people.
Mm.
So we at the Society of Canadian Artists want to form a community. Um, and that community only works if there are people like our listeners who want to be part of this community and part of our society and join our journey, right? And I am so proud to work with on the board of directors and the greater group of volunteers, a group of professionals who are committed to that same idea that we are a gestalt. The whole is is better than the sum of the parts. We get better when we work together, and I think that we need to get better, and we need to do that in combination with all of our thoughts. So if we make mistakes along the way, and we will,
Mm-hmm.
maybe our website crashes on the day of entry
Yes.
or something. You go, oh my God, how
Oh
is that
no.
possible? We'll work with you. We'll get there. We'll take care of it, because that's who we are. That's who our identity. We're the Society of Canadian Artists, and so we're asking our listeners, our members, to become members. To if you're not, become an energized member. Help us on this path. Be part of it. Be part of the change, and have your voice be heard, because there's a group of people, and kudos to you, Marissa. Your ability to have people around the table and having their voice heard has been magnificent. And so, but that's kind of who we are, is we try to be at the board level. We're trying to be the same up and down throughout. We are not perfect, but we're trying to get better. And we believe that by everybody working together, we can do some great things, be it with the exhibitions, the conferences, and so on. And when we make mistakes, as we often do, as we're humans, that you let us know in
Mm-hmm.
whatever way you can, even if it's harsh, whatever it is, just let us know, because that'll help us get better. Because the aim is to become better. And my hope as president is that I can have people that, when I'm gone, my lasting words, right? It's not like I'm dying or anything, but when I leave, as part of
Yes.
the succession, that there's going to be people who are better than me. And so the call out is to all of you out there: be part of the change. Join us on this journey. Let's do this journey together. That's
Wow. Yes, please. Wow, thank you so much, Manny. That was so heartwarming. Oh, wow. So I am very excited, but we have a lot to cover, but right now the time is limiting us. But thank you, Manny, for your heartwarming words there. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot from people who are listening right now. So, in behalf of the Society of Canadian Artists, my name is Marissa Sweet, and we'd like to say goodbye for now. And thank you, Manny, for joining us this evening. It was a pleasure to talk to you and to have you for 1 hour, for everybody to hear from you, and representing the board of directors as well of the Society of Canadian Artists.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manny.
Been an honor and a pleasure. Looking forward to working with everybody.
Thank you. We're signing out for now. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye, all.
Bye bye.
Bye.